Welcome back to Conservative Conversations. I am Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today we're going to be talking about all the news since our camping trip, so let's get started. But before we do, I'd like to remind you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and to our YouTube channel. And if you like extra content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. All right. Thank you for joining us, listeners. This is our first episode back since we went camping a few weeks ago. And if you haven't caught that material yet, be sure to do so. You can find it in your feed, whether you're on YouTube or the podcast app. We did the wacky show. It's just called what do we call it? Camping in Lost Creek.
Yeah, camping in Lost Creek, West Virginia.
Lost Creek, West Virginia. So be sure to catch that episode out. And on YouTube, you can see some shorts that we took while we were out camping.
That's right, and there's more to come. They haven't all been published yet. So look out for those that haven't yet been published.
Right. And since our last episode was recently Father's Day, so we wish anybody out there who is a father, happy Father's Day, and we hope you listeners got to enjoy Father's Day with your fathers if you're able to.
Yeah, that's right.
I know I got to. My brother and I took my dad out for some nice Italian lunch.
Oh, that's
good.
nice.
Yeah.
What kind of Italian lunch?
We went to a restaurant called Bravo Italian Kitchen.
Uh-huh. What did everybody have?
I just had their shrimp appetizer, a bowl of Italian wedding soup. Dad had some kind of spaghetti bolognese. I forget what Neil had. I don't recall.
Huh.
But it was good.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But anyway, to get started with some of the news, one of the biggest things that happened over the weekend were a whole combination of things. We had some protests. We had the Army's birthday, along with the President's birthday.
Yeah, that's right. 250 years for the Army.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the President. I was going to say, goodness gracious, he's old.
No, the Army is.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that they're all on the same day.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think some people saw the whole military parade coinciding with his birthday as a big deal, so that's why they had what they're calling the No Kings protest. I suppose that's why they're calling it that. I don't really understand why they called it No Kings.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
No.
I've heard a lot of people discuss that too, because, we threw off the Mad King George.
Mm-hmm.
The Declaration of Independence basically openly mocks him.
Right.
I don't know what people think. I mean, they would have made George Washington king if he would have allowed it. He would have never allowed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've never had a king in this country. We've never had anything approaching a king except for one Democratic president who didn't seem to want to let go, and we had to change the Constitution.
Yeah. Wasn't too terribly long ago.
But once again, it's the same people. It's the same people, same crimes, always.
Right. Well, I mean, even before the No Kings protest, they've been having the anti-immigration protest out it started in Los Angeles, but it had spread to some other cities. I don't think too much of them are still going on. At least
well, I know that it's funny because, you also had Pride going on in the background.
Yeah.
Which brings out its own,
crowd.
You might say protesters.
Sure, yeah.
People who don't like the Pride thing. You always have the religious zealots who want to sit there with their microphones and shout stuff at the
right.
The
parade goers.
Yes, sure. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you really had a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of different clashing
just this past
factions
weekend.
Of people.
Yeah. But I know here in Columbus they had some protests, but nothing really got out of hand from my understanding.
Which is good.
Yeah, I think it was the same, several years ago during the George Floyd riots. I have a couple friends who had gone to some of those, and they said it was, pretty well contained here in Columbus. So I think that's good to know.
Yeah, good that people can go express themselves no
Right.
matter how you feel without
Sure. Exactly.
things getting out of hand. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it's too bad, we had discussed going and getting some footage of it, and it's too
Mhm.
bad we couldn't do that for you folks, but we've just been a little busy.
Yeah.
But that's something we would have liked to have done for sure, and hopefully we can find opportunities like that to bring you guys some content besides our, straightforward recordings.
Right. Yeah. I was hoping that we could have gone, but interestingly enough, it was also a family member's of mine's birthday that same day as the president's birthday.
What day was it?
It was the 14th.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we went over for their birthday party. So we wouldn't have been able to go.
Yeah, that's a lot going on.
Yeah. But I guess also one other big thing that happened like last week was Israel had made targeted strikes on some of Iran's like not only their nuclear facilities but several other things. Quite a few attacks inside their country.
Yeah, I saw some of that, and we helped in some way, didn't we? We helped protect them. Maybe there were counterstrikes as well or something, or I know I saw some piece about that. I think we had some hand in helping them, but go figure.
Right. I mean, it's from my understanding, part of it's because of course, Israel's like right there, practically next to Iran. I don't think they share borders, but they're close, and Israel feels like now's the time rather than later because Iran's not going to stop what they're doing. I mean, they try to claim that their nuclear facilities are only for civilian use to produce energy. But, I mean, it's been several years, and, several reports have talked about how that's not exactly true. They hide some of their activity. They won't allow...
Inspections.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
whatever.
yes.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
know.
was thinking of.
I know, but this has been going on for 25 years or longer.
Right.
So I don't know. I've heard different sides of it, and I just would have the same worries. I don't want it to drag us into
Right, of
something,
course, yeah.
and I don't really care. I mean,
Right.
maybe I should care more, but I feel like I've become callous because I just heard somebody do a reel again the other day where you hear all these things that have been said over the last 25 years. Remember, somebody played that old clip of John McCain doing he's making a joke in front of a crowd saying, "You guys remember that old Beach Boys song? Bomb, 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 Iran."
Oh, yeah.
And it's like this has been going on. They've made up stories. Colin Powell and the weapons of mass destruction to go in there before. It's always poking a bear.
Right.
And that's just how I see this. I mean, Israel can do what it wants, but why are we so literally attached? That does worry me.
Yeah, I definitely think that is a concern. Trying to strike the right balance of involvement to help protect ourselves, but also not getting dragged completely into a whole nother thing that's going to last another 20 years that we don't need to be involved in. So yeah, I definitely get that. It is concerning for sure.
Yeah, it's just worrisome, and I don't know. A lot of things have been highlighted of late,
Right.
I don't know that I want to go into it all, but
Right. Yeah,
I mean, have you heard, I'll just put
Sure,
it
go
just
for it.
lightly, but
Mhm.
have you heard some of the whisperings, sort of the Epstein stuff and how there's big Mossad ties, and how they're actually one of the biggest. This has been said by others, I wouldn't make this up or whatever, but Israel, Mossad, their secret police, whatever, their military are supposedly one of the biggest American spies they say they have all this dirt on us, and supposedly there's been these whisperings and suggestions that Mossad and the whole Epstein thing and all that, there's like connections between it all. Have you heard any of this stuff?
No.
Well, that's just part of what concerns me too, is like, is this just because, you know what I mean, is do we really have that deep of ties with Israel? I mean, are we really talking biblical type stuff like they try to sell it as, or is it more like political warfare type stuff going on?
Interesting. Yeah. I don't really know.
I know it's deep stuff, but
is,
that's why it concerns me though too, is because who knows, we know what gets painted, the picture that gets painted on the surface, but who knows what's really going on behind closed doors, and who owes who what, and why America ends up getting dragged into these things. We always do.
Right. Yeah, I think it'd be great if Trump would be able to make some kind of deal with the Iranians, but it doesn't seem like they're willing to at the moment.
I just know if it gets into a situation, you can mark my words, I want to be recorded for this, but if we get into a situation where we just blow Iran off the face of the earth, somebody else is going to replace Iran.
Right.
Who will it be next? I mean, you can't just do this for eternity. Are we going to blow everybody off the map? I don't think so. Right. Somebody's going to turn around and blow us off the map. We'll be target number one for the world. You know what I mean? So all this stuff with regime change and we're going to blow you off the map. No, it's that kind of stuff has got to stop. It's
right.
Should have never happened. I mean, what year was it? 2001 that we invaded. Right? Afghanistan?
Yeah, it's Afghanistan.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the same kinds of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like, how long are we going to do this for?
Yep. It's definitely a concern I'm sure a lot of people have. But anyway, what's our next topic? There's definitely been a lot going on.
Well, we got the G7 coming up in Canada, which is going to be interesting because they've got their new leader.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of press, a lot of stuff going on around that.
Right. Yeah. It'd be nice to see if some of these trade negotiations could get made while this is going on. Because that'd definitely help out. Because so far, the only solid one we've got locked in is England.
Well, and I think that's interesting because one of the other things we were going to discuss is how they're still pushing that big, beautiful bill, trying to get it through. And who knows, the ramifications of whatever they pass may impact the G7 and how those negotiations go, too.
Right. Yeah, at this point, I'd be surprised if they get that bill fully passed by the 4th of July, because they're about to go on recess for like almost 2 months.
Well, I thought the last I had heard, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't been following this like day to day, but the last I had heard was they were talking about chunking it up into different bills.
Oh, so not the big, beautiful bill anymore.
Right. Or like a big, beautiful bill, part A, part B kind of thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if you had something like that happen, where they passed all the easy stuff that they can agree on. They all definitely want to keep these parts of the government going and whatever. Right. They want to do this. I think they could probably get that done. And then when they come back, they'll fight for those other, for the part B. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, the part 2 aspect of it. So I don't know. We'll see. But I also wonder, it's great that these two concepts are walking together, because I wonder if there's not some element of strategy, knowing that the G7 is coming up too, and that our nation state is in negotiations with other nation states.
Right, yeah.
So I wonder if, the movement that we want to see from Congress might not come, like if they're not kicking the can, right, to help with some of these international things that are going on at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I think that would kind of make sense. I mean, because I can imagine whatever kind of agreements could be made at the G7 with Canada or whatever other countries are there could have an impact on what they decide to try to put in the bill and finalize,
Right.
and vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because you never know what's going on in the background with these, representatives or what are we, ambassadors and whatnot. They might already be in talks about international trade deals and blah, blah, blah. And then you couldn't just, the Congress is going to put out a law that goes into effect right before this trade deal goes into effect that, one might cancel the other or nullify or
counteract
otherwise affect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if you do have that. And I think that's why it was proposed to break it. Because you can get done what we know we can get done.
Right.
Let's do it. And then the rest of it, okay, maybe we kick the can.
Right. Yeah, I know some of the last bit I heard was the Senate is trying to bring back down the salt tax cap down to like the 10,000 limit when the House is trying to get it back up. And the House is saying if the Senate sends the bill back over with that cap on it, it's basically dead on arrival.
It should be. I don't think it should have ever been capped at 10 in the first place. It's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of these Republicans that are in the blue states with all these high taxes, they really want it.
Of course they want it. They should have it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you can't. And the cap is like 40.
Right.
That's not a lot of money. Not on a Schedule A for high-income people. That's not a lot of money.
No. Nope, not at all. So I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't know if we have any blue state Republican senators, because if we did, I'm sure they'd certainly be on the side with the House trying to get that fixed.
I think the floor should be 60, and then maybe you should phase it out around, I don't know, 120.
Sure.
But to cap it at where it is now at 10%, I mean, that's been a joke since the TCJA was passed.
Right. Yeah, the 10 grand, yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it'll definitely... I mean, I think that's a small thing to just include to help get this thing put through to, have the higher assault deduction. I mean, what? I don't think it's going to make that huge of a difference to the numbers.
Well, plus in principle, it's not money you should be taxed on anyway. You ought to be able to claim it. You shouldn't be especially if it's to your benefit, right? Because just being able to claim it doesn't even mean that it's to your benefit, okay?
Right.
But if it can be beneficial to you to claim your state and local income tax deduction, then you absolutely ought to be able to do it. Okay? Because this is money, if you think about it, right? You know this. You have to know this. But for the listeners, for anybody who doesn't know this, that's money that goes straight to your state or local government. It's not money that comes into your hand, your pocket, your bank account. Now, in some cases it is, but you know what I'm saying. Theoretically, this is not money, that you otherwise use. It's just for those taxes, for those things.
Right.
It ought to be able to be excluded from your taxable income.
Right. Yeah, it is kind of crazy to have to be taxed on taxes, essentially.
Yes.
I mean,
it's bonko.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said a second ago, it seems so simple for, the Senate Republicans just to get on board with to help get this thing passed, because I'm sure there are much more impactful things that they can take.
Well, that's why I just love this example, though, because it's so simple. And it's the type of thing where you can see that the tax code is stacked. And I wish people understood. It's not stacked the way people think.
Mm-hmm.
It really screws over the wealthy and high income.
Right.
This is a great example.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful example for that.
Right.
Because let me tell you, I mean, this is what I would like to tell people. Let's say you can't take your SALT deductions, and this whole thing goes over your head. Well, let's say you move up a bracket. You get a nice house in a nice area. You have high income. You suddenly want to be penalized like you've always been saying, eat the rich, and now just because you're in your first year that you actually start making some money and have some decent stuff, a nice house, you're supposed to just be eating? I don't think so. I think people ought to be able to move up in this country, you know?
Right.
That's the idea. But instead the wealthy get screwed, man.
Right.
I've done their numbers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ideally, everybody should try to not convince, but vote for their local representatives that are going to help lower your local and state taxes.
Absolutely. Or like that thing Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. Eliminate certain taxes, like personal property tax.
Right. Yeah, that'd be the preferred thing. But, if you're somebody if you have to live in California because of your job, I think it makes sense that it'd be nice for the federal government to give you a little bit of a break on your taxes.
Amen.
But anyway,
you have to pay them to get the benefit anyway.
Yeah.
So do you see? I mean, you're a huge taxpayer in California. Why shouldn't you get some kind of a credit for that?
Right.
Acknowledgement. I don't even like saying credit.
Sure. Yeah, I get what you mean. But hopefully that big, beautiful bill will be finished soon. I feel like they've been talking about it and working on it since, like, March or something.
Well, you have all these sticklers, though.
Here it's almost July, and they're about to go on break for at least a couple of weeks. But, any hoozles.
Yeah, we'll just see what comes.
Yep. Got anything left on the docket?
Well, I don't know that we hit, we were going on about all the holidays and dates and birthdays and everything, but you told me something that was interesting. You want to tell the people? Do you remember? It's also the anniversary of something else.
Oh, yes. 10 years ago is when Donald Trump began his presidential career, when he came down that escalator. I believe it was like June. I think it was today. At least from my understanding. 10 years ago, June 16th, 17th? Yeah, 16th, 2015.
Yeah, and when you said that, I just happened to remember that it was also something that had been predicted by the Simpsons.
That's
right.
right.
I mean, this has been a long time in the works, and it kind of hit me when you said that, because I can think back and remember when they were running against each other, and it's like, I can't believe that was 10 years ago,
I know.
Hillary.
Same here. I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, gosh, that's 10 years. I mean, it seems so short, but it's so long at the same time.
But that's got to mean we've been doing this for a while, too.
Yeah. And I definitely remember, at the time when he was still his first-time candidate, I didn't vote for him.
I didn't vote for him either. I didn't trust either one of those clowns.
Yep.
Remember who I voted for?
What was her name?
You got it.
I know it was the lady.
From the Green Party.
Was it Jill Stein?
Yep.
Jill Stein.
I voted for Jill Stein that year.
I voted for Gary Johnson. What a quack.
Yeah, well, so is Jill.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But yeah, it took some time for, Donald Trump to win me over.
It didn't take me much time at all, because remember, one of the first acts he did was to free Dinesh D'Souza. And I had not even realized that one of my favorite journalists was in prison. Obama had put him in prison and had a millstone tied around his neck as a felon.
Right. And I definitely, remember the time where I didn't really like, and there's still sometimes I don't always like what the president's doing, but that's just how it goes.
There are things that make me nervous, and there are times
Sure.
where I go, man, I wish he wouldn't have said that. But
Mhm,
otherwise,
yep.
I love him. I love that man.
Yeah. It. I think it shows. I mean, at least. I mean, we're only two people, two examples, but I think it definitely shows that. It's. I don't know. You could be won over by certain things. You don't
Yeah.
have to.
So long as you keep an open mind.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You can certainly be open-minded towards people like Donald Trump or any politician.
Well, and I
for that
think that's
matter.
why we both voted third party anyway, because, I think there is a problem with that. Not to go into another thing, but I do think there's an issue with the two-party system in this country. I've always thought that. And I think that third parties should have more of an opportunity, more of a platform, more of a chance.
Right. Yeah. That would definitely be ideal. It certainly allow for more varying opinions and more opportunity for people to hear the varying opinions.
Or even for some of the power structure that exists now to be broken.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So it's not just this binary red, blue back and forth tug of war.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But, old Donald J. Trump has come quite a long way from June 2015, that's for sure.
Yep.
Being a candidate to
Getting shot.
yeah, getting shot in the ear to a separate term president, non-consecutive term.
Right.
Right
It's
in the
been-
history books of Grover Cleveland, as we've been saying before.
Been quite an arc.
Yep, that's for sure.
But anyway, I think that's pretty much all.
Yep, that's all I got for today.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw in there that, we'd love to know how you folks feel about all this stuff that's been going on, whether you had a good Father's Day or what you think of this No Kings movement, what
Yeah,
these
if you went
people are
down and
smoking.
saw some of the protests, or maybe some of the anti-immigration protests, which were a little bit more spicy, if you want to say. But
So anyway, let us know.
Yep, we would love to hear from you, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search for Contemporary Conservative. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platform under the same name. We are on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and many other major podcast platforms. And if you would like to hear some extra content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. We would greatly appreciate the support.
That's right, and we hope you might share us with a friend or two and encourage them to become a paid subscriber so that they have access to the same bonus and exclusive content that you have access to. And as always, we thank you so much for listening.